If you guys have ever wanted to make your own beef jerky at home but don't have an expensive dehydrator, well, you're in luck because I'm going to show you how to easily make your own beef jerky at home with just your oven. Now, any great jerky starts off with a really great marinade. And now you can take your flavorings in any type of direction that you want. Here I'm just going to start off by taking some black peppercorns and some mustard seeds and giving them a nice little toasting. Now, because we're actually going to be crushing these seeds up, this step is kind of optional, but the toasting of them will actually really bring out a nice nuttiness. And before we give them a good crushing up, we're going to add in the rest of our spices and even some sugar, and this is just going to ensure that everything is well mixed together. And of course, if you have a mortar and pestle, this part will be really easy, but if you don't, I just like to grab a really strong and sturdy mug and just use the handle of a rolling pin and just give it a nice good crushing. And this is going to help release all of the oils that are going to help flavor our meat. And in the same mug that we used to crush up all of our spices, I'm going to add in all of our wet ingredients. And this is why I really like to use a mug for something like this, because not only are you creating fewer and fewer dishes because you're doing it all in the same mug, but you're also really concentrating all of the flavors. And speaking of flavors, feel free to leave a comment down below in what direction you'd want to take your beef jerky flavor into, whether it be more sweet, more savory, let me know down below. And with our marinade put off to the side, I'm going to take our slightly chilled eye of round roast out of the freezer. That's right, I threw it in the freezer for about 30 to 45 minutes before cutting it. This is going to ensure that it's nice and firm, so that way it's easier to cut really thin slices. And you do want to cut the slices really thin just because it'll help quicken the process of drying it out in the oven. And you're also going to want to experiment whether you cut with the grain or against the grain. It really depends on what you're looking for in your beef jerky, but feel free to experiment. Also experiment with the different types of meat that you might want to use. Just make sure the type of meat is extremely lean, because too much intermuscular fat could actually cause spoiling later on. Now, unlike what they told you to do in high school, you're actually going to want to double bag your meat here. That's just to make sure that it doesn't explode in your fridge. And after marinating overnight or even up to 3 days, I'm going to pull all my pieces out and lay them down, making sure none of them overlap. Now, that's very important. You want to make sure none of these overlap. And I'm going to pat them dry, or as best I can, with a paper towel. Because think of this process as more of a dehydrating process and not an actual cooking process. So you're going to want to give it as much of a head start as possible by removing as much moisture as possible. And now, making beef jerky is an extremely slow process. So you're going to want to drop your oven down to just about as low as it can go. Mine can go down to about 170, so I'm going to let it sit at 170 for about 2 to 2.5 hours. Really, you're just going to want to check your meat throughout this entire process. Give it a flip about halfway through. And also, if you have a convection oven, that'll work out even better, just because the circulating air will help the meat dry out even quicker. And now that we're about halfway through, I'm going to flip these guys over. Now, this step isn't totally necessary, especially if you're already cooking them on a wire rack, because the air is going to be able to circulate underneath them and all around them anyway. But I just think that it helps speed up the process a little bit. And obviously, the smaller pieces are going to cook a lot faster than the larger pieces, so you just got to watch it and pull it out when it's all ready. And after a few days worth of work, you get a pretty good amount of some kick-ass beef jerky. Anyway, I hope you guys really liked the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow me on my Instagram as well as my Facebook for some behind-the-scenes access on how I create these recipes. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment down below, and peace.